Ms. Peyton King, Your Honor.
You raise your arm for me. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please have a seat. And if you would, please tell us again your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Peyton King, PeytonKing.
Defense?
Ms. King, would you please, I disregard that you just said that. How are you related to Josh?
He is my husband.
When did y'all get married?
We were married in 2022 in January.
Do y'all have any children?
No, we do not.
Why not?
We didn't want to bring a baby into the world if he was going to be going to prison.
Does the fact that your husband has been convicted of aggravated assault, does that change your opinion of him?
No, not at all.
Were you able to be in here during the state's case and listen to what happened?
I know it happened, but I was not allowed to be in here.
Did you sit outside and wait through the whole time and not listen to what was going on in here, correct?
Yes, I was just outside.
When did you first meet Josh?
Say it again?
When did you first meet Josh?
When I first met him, it was in 2016 when we both first started college.
And in that whole time, has Josh gotten into any trouble?
No, he actually, in his fraternity, he was risk management because he was so good at talking to people and resolving conflict. He is a teddy bear of a person. He is incredibly kind. This was just a terrible situation that should have never happened.
Has Josh made all his court appearances while this case has been pending for 4 years?
Absolutely.
Has he had any trouble following any conditions that he might have to comply with?
No.
What would you want this jury to know in assessing a punishment for your husband?
Josh is a law-abiding citizen. This was something that was a freak accident. It never should have happened. He is such a good guy. If anything, I'm the one who drags him out to do things. He didn't even want to go out that night. It was my idea. He's a good person. If you were to put him on probation, he would do everything that was asked of him. Please be kind with your sentencing.
Does Josh have a job?
He works with his father.
Does he have a home?
Yes, he does.
And is it your own, you and him live together?
Yes.
And would you be, if he was to be placed on probation, would you assist him in getting to and from whatever he had to do to comply with that probation?
Absolutely.
That's a witness, Your Honor.
Stay.
Do you understand that JC could have died because of your husband's actions that night?
I understand that I could have been raped or killed because I was not raped or killed and he was not injured because of his actions.
And you don't remember anything that happened that night?
I sure do. I remember when he opened the door and he told me to run because I was going to be raped.
But you didn't see any of that shooting, did you?
I did not see the shooting itself, but I know what I saw and I know what I heard.
And do you understand that a mother could have lost their son that night because of what the defendant did?
I understand that there's a whole bunch of family members behind you that could have lost 2 of their loved ones as well.
Also witness?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, you can step down, ma'am. Defense, call your next witness.
Ms. Kimberly King, Your Honor.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do, sir.
Please have a seat. You sit down, if you would adjust that, bring that mic close to you, about a fist away from your mouth. She has on headphones, so she's going to be listening through there. Will you please tell her your name and spell it for the court reporter?
My name is Kimberly King, Kimberlea, King.
Defense?
Ms. King, what relationship do you have to Josh?
I'm his mother.
Besides Josh, do you have any other children?
I do, Kyle.
And how old is Kyle?
Kyle is 29.
Who's the oldest of the two, Kyle or Josh?
Kyle.
Where did Josh grow up at?
We grew up in San Antonio and in a neighborhood called Stone Mountain. We lived in that house until Joshua graduated from high school in 2016, and then we moved to the Bulverde area.
And I'm sorry, when did he graduate from high school?
2016.
And after high school, what did he do?
After high school, he went to applied and entered Texas State University and began his studies there.
And back on May 22nd of 2020, that's where he was going to college at Texas State?
Yes, sir. He was enrolled in classes there.
In his life and academics, have you ever had any issues with Joshua?
Never.
You never had any teachers call you and come in and tell you anything about his behavior, discipline?
When they would call, they would tell me what an exemplary young man he was, as well as a student and a friend.
You sat here through the whole trial and basically heard what the jury heard. Does that in any way change your opinion of your son?
Not at all.
If you felt your son was guilty of that, what would you have done?
This would have been over in 2020. He would have been accountable and he would have faced the consequences then. I know my son, as mothers know their children. Never in his life has he been unkind or malicious to a soul. Nor would he ever. And there's nothing that anyone can do to him that he has not already done to himself every day since May 22nd of 2020. He feels horrible, and I'm not sure that it's something he will ever get over, the thought of harming another human, because it's not who he is. It's not in his DNA. It is not how our family is. And if you could sit down with him for 20 minutes, you would immediately know what a warm and caring person he was. And I pray to our Heavenly Father that we are not judged by the worst thing that we've ever done, because it's not who he is as a whole person. And I could fill this courtroom with people, not of our family, and they would all say the same thing.
Objection or the narrative.
Sustained.
And that's the truth.
If Josh was put on probation, would you be of assistance to him as far as if he had to report to probation, you had to follow conditions?
Absolutely.
Would you also be assured that he's employed, gainfully employed, supporting his dependents?
Absolutely. And just as he has appeared every time he has been ordered to do so, he would continue to do so.
What do you want this jury to know about your son when they're considering what the punishment should be in this case?
I believe in my heart that justice does no harm. I feel deep sympathy for the family and for the victim in this case, and I wish I could go back and take it away. My son wishes we could go back and take it away. But I ask that you show mercy on him and our family and his wife, and see it in your hearts that he be allowed to serve probation. I know that the victim has gone through suffering, and our family received a sentence back in 2020 that we have been serving. Our lives have been at a standstill. And I just very respectfully ask that you look inward and assign the justice that does no harm. Thank you.
That's what it's showing.
State.
You do understand that the victim in this case could have died from the injuries that your son inflicted.
I'm fully well aware of that.
And JC had a mother too.
I'm fully well aware of that. Yes.
And JC's mother could have lost her son that night.
As did I.
That's what it is.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You can step down, ma'am. Thank you very much. Defense, call your next witness.
At this time, we would call Faith Burke.
Just raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please have a seat. You just pull that base a little closer to you. Please tell us your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Faith Burke, FAITHBURKE.
Vince?
Ms. Burke, how do you know Joshua King?
I went to high school with him.
And approximately how long have you known him?
I've known him since I was 16, so about 11 years.
And how would you describe your relationship with Joshua?
Well, first off, I just love him to death. We would sit with each other at lunch and we'd be just talking the whole time while all our other friends are talking about their nerd stuff, you know. But yeah, no, I just have appreciated him throughout high school and even in college. He always stayed in touch, check in to see how I was. And I got to meet Peyton when I visited both of them at their college, and just even afterwards now they come over almost like on Fridays and we have.
I was about to ask you, how often do you have a chance to see him?
At least 2 times a month about. They come over on Fridays. Yeah.
And do you have children?
I do. I have a 16-month-old.
Has Joshua had the opportunity to be around your children? Your
Yes.
child?
Yes, yes.
And how are his interactions with your children?
Just a big old teddy bear. He is so gentle with my son. Whenever he came over, he'd be like, okay, how do I hold him? Trying to do it as gently as possible. And it's so sweet because my son runs up to him and lifts up his arms like, pick me up. And Josh is like, oh, I hope I do this right. And always asking questions and playing. And he just loves him.
Are you familiar with whether or not Josh and Peyton want to have children?
Yes, they definitely want to have kids.
And have they been holding off on that decision until the resolution of this case?
Yes, I've had many conversations and that's what they told me.
Do you think if Josh were given the opportunity to do probation, that he would be willing to comply with those conditions?
Absolutely, he would.
Would you be supportive of him in that regard?
100% anything he needs from me.
To the best of your knowledge, does Josh do any type of drugs?
No, sir.
To the best of your knowledge, does he drink?
No, sir.
You were aware an individual was shot in this case.
Yes, sir.
Have you had the opportunity to observe how having to shoot Mr. Rodriguez has impacted his life?
Yes, I have.
Can you describe that for the benefit of the jury?
They've been having to put their whole life on hold, children, and just not ever knowing what the next month is going to bring. And seeing some of my best friends in the whole world have to pause their life like that, when if they could bring children to the world, I know they would just be the absolute sweetest, most wonderful children ever, because 2 of the sweetest people they did. just can't emphasize enough that Josh is just a teddy bear, and I trust his advice, and I am not a trustworthy, I don't trust people. This world is crazy, okay? And I trust them, like, with everything. Like, I sliced my finger open a couple months ago, and I didn't call my parents to come take care of my child. My first call was them, because I knew they'd be there for me.
Do you think it would benefit Josh to be incarcerated in prison?
No, the general public would lose a kind, gentle soul who only wants to help other people.
Do you think that Josh represents a danger to society?
Absolutely not.
Pass the witness.
Stay.
I don't have any questions for this witness.
You can step down, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vince, call your next witness.
Your Honor, if we could have a minute, Mr. Navarre is currently retrieving one of the members of the probation department, so he can.
Is there anyone else that you have before then?
No other witnesses at this time. We're just waiting on, I believe it's Mr. Facundo from the probation department.
Are we gonna have witnesses at another time?
I do not believe so.
May?
Just to the probation officer, there are Christian kids.
Does the defense counsel answer that winking order?
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please have a seat. You would adjust that microphone after you sit down, get comfortable, adjust it, you can move it closer to you and up and down. She's has on headphones and she'll be listening through there. If you please tell us your name and spell it for the court reporter.
It's Angela Winkenwerder, Winkenwerder.
Sense?
Ms. Winkenwerder, how are you employed?
I'm an adult community supervision officer in Hayes County.
And how long have you been an adult supervision officer with Hayes County?
It's 26 years.
Prior to joining Hayes County, I'm sorry, how long have you been with Hayes County?
So Hayes County has been a year. Prior to that, 25 and a half in Comal County.
Now, Comal County, Hayes County, and Caldwell County, are y'all kind of put together?
Yes, sir, we're in the same judicial district.
And y'all kind of serve the same district judges?
Yes, sir.
And you do supervision for misdemeanor and felony cases?
Yes, sir.
With regards to community supervision, what conditions are individuals required to follow?
Do you want me to go through the standard listings?
The standard listing, do you have a standard listing? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the standard conditions of probation would be a bail orders of the court and your probation officer. You commit no new offenses while on probation. You abstain from the use of alcohol and drugs. Avoid persons and places that are using alcohol or drugs. Don't hang out in bars, dance halls, that kind of thing. Report to your probation officer. Permit your probation officer to visit you at home or work, wherever. Obtain and keep gainful employment in a lawful occupation. Can't change your place of residence without letting us know where you're at. Remain within the confines of the county in which you live. Support your dependents if you have any. You would have to pay court cost, fine, restitution, any court assessed fees. There's also a probation fee that you pay once a month. Let's see. There's conditions for community service, improving your educational makeup. If you are below a 6th grade level, sometimes we require you to get a GED. And then there's just a basic deportation clause that says if you weren't born here, that kind of thing. Those are the basic conditions of probation that everyone has in common.
Is there counseling classes that could be part of that?
Yes, that are as a result of a recommendation, a staffing.
And who does that staffing?
Our department does.
How many people are involved in that staffing? If you
It
know.
varies. We have a large department.
And we gotta look at each individual case and determine what recommendations you make to the court to see what counseling might be necessary in each particular case.
Yes, sir.
And now, with regard to probation, a person is sentenced to prison time, correct? But they don't go to prison, they're put on probation instead, correct?
Yes, and those are standard conditions. I mean, like a standard probation. Then there's also a deferred adjudication probation.
But in this case, if he's already been convicted, then is sentenced to prison time, however that sentence, if it's under 10 years, it gets suspended, it gets delayed for the individual to be put on probation between 2 and 10 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
What happens if an individual does not comply with those conditions of probation?
A violation notice is submitted to the district attorney's office that has the allegations of what the terms and conditions that they violated. That's what we do on our part.
And then do they approve or disapprove a filing of a motion to revoke?
They would later do the motion to revoke and issue the warrant for the defendant's arrest.
The defendant's brought back into court,
Yes, sir.
and then the judge determines what he wants to do.
Yes, sir.
And the judge could assess that punishment which was initially imposed on the individual, correct?
Yes, sir.
What type of cases are people put on probation for in this county, Caldwell County, and Comal County?
Oh, okay.
Agri-
And, yeah,
Agriculture robberies,
Yes, sir.
sexual assault of children,
Yes, sir.
just sexual assaults,
Yes, sir.
very violent, extremely violent offenses with involving children.
Sometimes, yes.
That's a witness, Your Honor.
State?
I want to talk a little bit about what happens if the defendant screws up while they are on probation. How long does that process take if you notice that there is a violation?
There's different kinds of violations that we have. Some are administrative, they're failure to pay, failure to report once, failure to miss a community service meeting, and then there's the actual law, there's the violations like committing new arrests. The committing new arrest, we move faster. The others, we kind of try to intervene in those cases to help them fix the issues that they're presenting.
So even if they screw up while they're on probation, they can continue on probation.
Depending on what the screw up is, basically.
And sometimes, even if they're screwing up, a judge won't even hear about it because you're taking care of those within the probation department. Is that fair?
Yes, ma'am.
And whenever you have a more serious violation, those typically are brought before a judge. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And sometimes those can take months or years to get taken care of. Is that fair to say?
Sometimes the warrants can be issued and it can take a while for them to be served, and then, or they can be reset through the court system, but yes.
So there's no real way for the probation department to guarantee that a defendant is going to follow their rules.
There's no way to guarantee it, but it is something that we strive for each office visit.
And even whenever you find out that they've been violating those rules, sometimes it can take a very long time for the judge to be able to do anything about that.
You can.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the conditions that can be placed on an offender. Now, can you promise this jury that the defendant won't be using drugs or alcohol while he's on probation?
I don't think we can ever promise that.
Do all offenders are offenders tested for drugs and alcohol every day?
Not every day.
How often are they typically tested for drugs and alcohol?
It's on a random basis, and depending on the type of case that you have, if you've got specific conditions where it requires testing more readily, drug and alcohol tests, drug and alcohol offenses have a testing amount that they have to do as well. We would hit those more often.
So for a jury who's probably never been on probation before, how often is that? Just in general?
Literally, it's just an officer discretion thing.
So,
We try to at least do one every 6 months, but that's just the low end of what we could do.
so sometimes it could be even longer than 6 months before defendants even tested for drugs or alcohol.
I'm not sure, I guess it could be in certain cases.
Do you go into the home of the offender to make sure that they don't have drugs and alcohol?
So field visits are required, if a defendant stops reporting, or if they're not showing up to their appointments, or depending on certain specialized caseloads, have a field visit requirement.
So normal probation officers don't have people actually checking their homes?
Not unless there's extreme situations. If they stop reporting, that's part of what we try to do before we file a motion to adjudicate or a motion to revoke.
What about their vehicles? How often are those searched?
We are not law enforcement, we don't search vehicles. I know that in some DWI type caseloads, you can monitor if there's an ignition interlock in a vehicle, but beyond that, we would not be searching a vehicle.
So you're not typically going in to make sure that, there's not beer cans in a vehicle?
No, ma'am.
What steps does the probation department take in order to make sure that a defendant doesn't have a firearm?
The only thing that you really could do is do a field visit.
And so those aren't
But
very,
even then, you know, you don't have law enforcement with you, so it's not.
so you're not going searching through the homes on a home visit. Would it be fair to say that a home visit is more just kind of a face-to-face visit with an offender at their home?
Yes.
You're not searching their home to make sure that there's no drugs, alcohol.
And there are specialized caseloads that do have some of that component built into them, but your typical probation case, we're not searching through their residence or their vehicles unless there's an issue that we know.
Would it be fair to say that you're relying on the defendant to follow the rules that he doesn't have a firearm?
That's safe to say, that's fair to say.
The primary focus of probation and rehabilitation.
Primarily, I feel like we try to keep people to adhere to their conditions of probation, but we do have a very therapeutic way that we like to look at things.
In order to rehabilitate someone, do they typically have to admit they have a problem?
Yes, ma'am, that's helpful.
If the defendant said that they would commit the crime again and again, if they have the same chance, does that sound like someone who could be rehabilitated to you?
That doesn't sound like something that would be in the realm of someone who's ready at a stage of change.
Pass the witness.
Since,
Probation could be up to 10 years, correct?
Yes,
Now, with regards to this process about the seriousness or not seriousness of a violation, that is the process y'all have for all types of cases in this county, correct?
yes, sir.
And there are many cases that are aggravated assaults, aggravated robberies that are put on probation in this county, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have an idea as to how many cases maybe are taken care of with people on probation in a week in this county?
I would not know that, sir. I'm sorry.
Would you think there's, and based on your 20 years experience, is it a few or a lot?
I would not know, sir, the numbers.
Now, with regards to visits, there are conditions that indicate that an individual must allow a probation officer to visit them at their home, their place of employment, or any other place where they might be found, correct?
Yes.
There are different ways to monitor remotely drug and alcohol use, correct?
Yes, sir.
What are those ways?
As far as beyond the standard urinalysis, there's also, you can go to certain labs to do hair follicles, but there's also a unit called a SCRAM unit, which is basically an ankle monitor that reads how alcohol is being processed through your body 24/7. There's those. There's a portable a portable breath unit that actually takes a blood alcohol reading from your breath that you carry around. Beyond that, I'm not sure what else.
Are there units that have monitors that give you basically instantaneous results if somebody's consuming alcohol?
So it's not instantaneous. I think the SCRAM monitors, it goes to the company after it's uploaded and then they send you the data back at a later date.
Councilwoman Shaw.
state,
The screen monitor device that you just talked about, is that something that is placed on every offender?
No, ma'am.
And is that actually on a rare occurrence that that's placed?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way that you can guarantee to this jury that the defendant won't drink while he's on probation?
I could never guarantee that for anyone.
Is there any way the probation department can guarantee that the defendant won't commit another crime while on probation?
Unfortunately, we can never guarantee that.
And is there any way to guarantee to this jury that the defendant won't pull out a gun and shoot it at anyone else?
We can never guarantee that.
Pass the witness.
since,
You can't guarantee it with all the other cases in this county that are being put on probation, any of those violent offenses also, correct?
That would be impossible to make a guarantee for anyone.
Thank you. As a witness.
Stay.
No additional questions.
This witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stay.
Thank you.
This witness be released.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You're free to go about your business. Vince, call your next witness.
No further witness, Your Honor.
State.
State closes.
Vince.
That's closes, Your Honor.
All right, that's all the evidence that you will hear in the punishment phase. What that means, we're going to go ahead and adjourn for the day. We'll take care of, again, the